Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of our Community Access. This week, we visited with Evergreen, then we went to Echo Grove, and finally, we went to Kingsbury School, all today at our Community Access. Welcome back. This week, we visit with Evergreen. With the story is our reporter, Alexis Ware. Alexis?
Evergreen's Coffee and Bake Shop moved downtown despite N24 construction. Owner Angie Green says she's excited to be in a new location.
I've definitely wanted to have our face out in the main area of Oxford on the main drag. I don't see the construction as a hindrance. That will come and go. But I'm excited, nervous, all the emotions that you could possibly have. We're thrilled to death, and I just can't wait to see how we expand, what we expand with.
Green says the plan to move came long before construction began with the hopes of expansion.
We were always in the process of moving. The building was going up for sale that I was in, so it was time to make a move. We wanted more of a, I don't want to say better location because we did fabulous where we were at, but we wanted people to be able to visualize us and see us more. The facility that we have now chosen to go to here at 9 South Washington, it's been vacant for a couple of years now. So it has been available. We looked at it a while back and then made the decision. There was a bakery here previously, so it was great that it was already set up with a huge oven. So therefore we knew that it could handle the capacity that we're hoping to grow into.
Green says the coffee shop went from having 400 square feet in a shared space to having their own 2,200 square foot shop. She says while they will miss being in their old location, they're excited for the future.
We officially got the keys September 1st. So in 5 short weeks, we have completely changed things. The owner of the building, he lives actually in Dearborn from what I understand. Him and his family came through the other day and they were shocked at the changes that we've made, but they were very happy with the changes, which filled my heart.
Evergreen's Coffee and Bake Shop is the original home of Bagel Bombs, but offers a variety of pastries and beverages to its customers, including smoothies and sandwiches. Green says she hopes customers realize the precautions they're taking to stay safe.
We're going to expand upon our menu. Bagel Bombs has been a big part of our menu for the last year and a half. We want to have more flavors, etc. Our hours are going to be later, so we're hoping that people after work or after going to see a movie, once the movie theater opens back up, can come and enjoy a slice of cake and a latte, and instead of maybe another venue that they might have chosen in the past. I hope more people know that we're here. I think people are more relaxed as to where we're at in the pandemic. So, you know, we're taking all the precautions and I want them to come out and enjoy it. Where obviously when we closed midst of the pandemic, everyone definitely was staying home and doing what we properly needed to do.
She says they closed the shop at their old location on the 20th of September due to difficulties of the pandemic. But just 20 days later, they're back open and at a new location.
I mean, I knew we were going to have to close eventually, but I couldn't get flour anywhere from any of our vendors. So that was a big sign that it was time.
Then
it was back to business. We wanted to make sure to revisit our cleaning policies and such. And we did a lot of carry out and of course social distancing and mask wearing. But other than that, it was business as usual. I haven't had any issues since then. So yes, knock on wood, it's been good.
the menu and new building isn't the only thing Green is switching up about business. She says inside will be different as well.
Well, to tell you the truth, my husband actually had a vision of doing it more industrial, more metal, more brick, and it worked. So I couldn't be happier with how it looks. Right now we want it spacious so that we can keep up with our social distancing, but we're going to add as we see fit. We've got a couple comfortable chairs so you don't necessarily have to sit upright behind a table, and we're hoping to add maybe a small couch and things like that. But we just want to see what the community wants and see where we're headed with the future of the pandemic, etc.
Other things Green is hoping to incorporate is more karaoke nights and live music. As for now, the shop is open without these things.
We have got our hours set from 6 to 6 during the week and 7 to 7 on Saturday, 7 to 2 on Sunday. But if the community wants us open later, if we feel that that would work well, we'll stay open later. We're hoping to do live music like on Saturday evenings, etc. We have to be mindful of the apartments that are around us, above us, etc. But we'll see what the community's wants are, and then we will definitely oblige, because I would love to have live music and stay here. That would be great.
Next up, Alexis visited with Echo Grove again, and it's Alexis.
Matthew Coakley, camp director at Echo Grove, says it was a tough summer with COVID-19 taking away more than 70% of their business, but great things still came from the slower camp season.
The Army was pretty good in allowing me not to have to furlough any of my staff or team this summer, which was good. But we also were very busy when we had no guests at all. We were able to use our team. We worked on packing food boxes and doing other kinds of COVID-19 related assistance projects for the greater Eastern Michigan Division of the Army, of the Salvation Army here locally. So we were able to use our team that wasn't as busy with camp related things. We did some stuff for COVID related things too, which helped keep them busy and kept their jobs. So
Coakley says the camp got to participate in several projects.
Yeah, we had two primary ones. One, the first one, which was very exciting, was many folks would be familiar with the bed and bread program that the Army runs, mostly downtown out of the city. They have that nice radiothon every year. They generate lots of revenue. Well, unfortunately, that's run out of the Harbor Light, which is down in the city at 96 and Rosa Parks over that, or Martin Luther King, excuse me, over that way. Well, they unfortunately had a case of COVID in the center, because it's also a shelter and it does multiple things. Well, they had a couple cases of COVID in there, which closed them down, which their volunteer staff, who makes thousands of sandwiches every week to put on these trucks to feed people, kind of got disrupted. So in conversations with my bosses and stuff, I offered the camp team to be a backup kitchen for the bed and bread truck. So for 6 weeks we made 7,000 sandwiches a week. We did 3,500 sandwiches twice a week out of this kitchen right out here. And we retrofitted our big box truck with foam panels to insulate the walls, so then I drove them. We made sandwiches on Mondays and I drove them on Tuesdays. We made another 3,500 to 4,000 sandwiches on Thursday and I drove them down Friday. So we did that for 4 or 5 weeks. We had a team of 6 or 8 people making 3,000 sandwiches every week, and that helped provide it for that program, which allowed them to keep feeding people, because as you know, that program feeds a lot of people, especially in the city, in an area that really needs it. So we wanted to participate and help with that in any way we could. So we did that for quite a bit of time until the folks in the center recovered from their illness and what have you, and then they got back to doing that. And but they're always looking for volunteers too, so if that could be a plug for you, reach out to your local Salvation Army and offer to help with that. You could participate with making sandwiches downtown somewhere. That would be great. The other project we did was also food related. It was one of our advisory council members owns a warehouse in Taylor, and he allowed us to set up a food box distribution making there. So we would go there with volunteers and build food boxes to distribute at various locations throughout the region and the city. Basically, we made, I want to say there was close to 24,000 food boxes that we ended up doing and submitting and making as part of a chain line. I went down, everybody put in your boxes, your green beans, your pasta, kind of a box of staples with pasta and things that a family would use to sustain them for a week or two. So it was fun to be able to do those projects and help, but that lasted a couple months, and I did some numbers, we probably spent 40,000 man hours doing those projects. So it was rewarding to be able to contribute while we were slow, take advantage of having some extra time to do that. So I think God blessed us with the opportunity to do that. So it was fun, and we learned some things too. It was fun for my staff to get out of the beautiful woods up here and go downriver or the city and actually get to put hands on the ground when we distributed the food boxes at some of the local corps down in the city. It was great for my team to be able to participate in that. It was really fun. Was really proud of my team out here at Echo Grove. They really chipped in a lot. It was good. Many groups canceled. I probably lost 75, almost 80% of my scheduled groups canceled on me because of the unknown, the fear, the rules, the laws, the things that the requirements to be out here and be out at summer camp caused a lot of folks to just cancel because they weren't really sure. It was unclear.
Matthew Coakley, camp director at Echo Grove, says they were ready to open for the summer season when they had to close.
We hire about 50 people for the summer camp, as I've mentioned to you before in the past. Well, we were basically had all 50 people hired except for 2. So we had 48 people pretty much hired out of the 50. We were ready to go. We had programs written, staff was hired, schedules, orientation schedule. We were ready to go because we usually get that going. We have orientation in early June, but we have 5th grade camps in May, in April and May. And so we were really kind of heading right in. We were ready to go. And then all of a sudden, we got some information from our headquarters that we weren't doing summer camps. And so then we were like, we were trying to figure out what do we do now. So we tried to buy time. We said, well, we don't know what's going as of right now. We did that game, which we felt horrible doing. We suggested to them, well, you're hired, but you're not hired. We want you, but you're not. It put us in a really awkward position of hiring people, telling them yes, no, then pulling the rug out on their job, and then it was like, we can't hire you, I don't have people out of camp. So then we did that one other time, because then the local government decided, now you can do it. So then we think we're going to do it again. Then they pulled it back again, and so the back and forth with what they would allow, how big a group, how small a groups, things like that kind of impacted our ability to hire. And then eventually kids just said, I got to go find work. So, and we encouraged them. We said, just go, we understand. So hopefully they'll come back to us next summer when we have to hire again, if provided we're allowed to.
Coakley says since then, about 75 to 80% of groups have canceled, including adults and business retreats.
They were acutely aware of the risks and what that could be, so many of them pulled out too. Now, as the season progressed, there have been some groups that have called us to come out with their group. Now, they've been much smaller groups that have come out here, and so they've come out for little weekend things or 2-day things, or we've had a lot of day groups. So a lot of groups that were scheduled to be out here for the weekend ended up coming out for a day event on Saturday, from 9 in the morning till 5 at night or 7 at night with a campfire or something. They've just kind of converted they compressed their entire weekend visit into a day, which is not quite the same experience at camp, but it still was something, and at least they got to come and enjoy camp for what it is. So we've had some of that. Not nearly enough. It didn't really backfill all of the vacancies we had, but at least it was something.
They were still able to do their day camp, but not without some challenges.
Well, this year was different. We had no residential camp, so we had to do all of that and still try to run a day camp. We thought we'd really try to still run a day camp this year, which was a challenge financially because we didn't have the backing of the residential camp and its revenue to be able to support the day camp. So the day camp really kind of had to be self-sustaining, which really isn't, because the cost that we charge for day camp is so low that it barely covers the cost. So again, our team kind of got called into service, so my program director Shana and myself sat down and created mostly Shana to be fair, she created a system of day camp to work. So because of the COVID rules and all that went on, we were forced to really fall in line with the protocols that the CDC and the state and everybody, the guidelines that were there. So we created 3 groups of 12 kids and let them do day camp independently of one another, but all together. Does that make sense? So they were all on camp, but they were going in different directions, and they had 3 different schedules. We had to hire a little extra staff to clean up and sanitize areas that they would share. So after one group left, we'd have a counselor stay back and sanitize everything and clean it. And so then when they left, the next group came in, and then when they left, their counselor sanitized it for the 3rd group who came. So it was this kind of rotation that we had to have. But worked out good. God was faithful to us, and we didn't have one single case all summer long in all of these groups, whether it was day camp, some of the outside groups. We haven't really talked much about that yet, but we did start to do residential camp 3 or 4 months later, small camps and stuff, overnight camps. But we kept the same strict protocols with masking and inside versus outside and sanitizing and cleaning and distancing and all those things that are important to kind of keeping keeping the spread of the virus low. So we followed all the rules. We did our very best to, and it worked out, and everybody was safe as far as I know.
Those overnight camps were still kept limited.
We were really nervous about those groups. And while, like for instance, our older kids, we only had 20. There was only 20 kids in that overnight group. And in the smaller, younger group, we only had 18. So we had two small groups. The one big group experience that we had was the very first time we had a marching band want to come out here. We have 4 normally every year that come out here. Well, all 4 of mine canceled this year. So this was another band that came out looking for space because their venue canceled them. We had nobody here because everybody canceled. So I said, well, you can come out here. The state was up and down. We have a licensing agent, a representative, and they're a licensed group. They also had a licensing agent. So we provided our protocols, what we're expecting here. They, of course, are a licensed group, so they had their own protocols. So between those 2 sets of protocols, their agent went down the hall to our agent, and they went together to their boss, who then presented their plans with our plans. And so we brought 170 high school band members here. And to be fair, they did really, really good. Their band director was very strict. They wore masks outside. They never rehearsed in buildings. They did everything outside. They taped off lines in the dining hall, which we still have in there, which I kept because it saved me the effort, because they were the first big overnight group. But they did. Almost 200 people were in that camp, and they just would go through the line. We would rotate their meals, stagger their meal times and stuff like that, so that the meals were not too crowded in the dining hall, and it worked itself out. And they did excellent here.
After the first successful overnight group, the camp decided to do an in-house overnight camp themselves.
We typically have 10 or so camps that we run every year anyway, so they already have a template for how to do an overnight camp for an in-house program and for camping. And so music camp is one of the camps that we do pretty well. The Salvation Army has a lot of music, and the brass, you've seen them out on the street corners with the kettles and all that. So we do brass instruments, we have camps, and we teach music and all that. So this year we wanted to offer something for our music campers and for that. So we did a 5-day overnight camp for the older kids, and then we did just a weekend 2-day overnight camp for the younger age kids. So it allowed them to be, we met in fact in this building, we met downstairs in a controlled environment, the same place every day. They did their stuff and their music, and they did their lessons in here or outside on the picnic tables. They did theory classes at the picnic tables out in the Froggies area, or they did under pavilions and what have you. And then when they ate, they would go down to the cafeteria. So there's some variety in their day, and of course they would wear masks in the building and distance and sit. I think we put 2 or 3, 4 chairs at a table instead of 8. So we split them up, we spread them out, we did everything we could do to mitigate the spread and keep the transmission rate really low. And many of the students came here with testing negative anyway, so they weren't bringing any kind of a positive case here to camp. So, but it was good, and the kids did really well with the overnight. We split them up in the rooms. They used slightly more sleeping arrangements than they normally would, because normally I have rooms I can fit 6 people. We ended up only putting like 3 in the room, so I gave them twice as much space as they needed so they could spread out twice as far. Does that make sense?
Finally, Alexis visited with Kingsbury School to tell them what they are doing with the COVID-19. Alexis?
Kingsbury Country Day School is incorporating a more organic style of learning amidst the pandemic. Administrators say it's here to stay.
One of the great things that we did to help us successfully open is we took our outdoor education program and we ramped it up. What I mean by that is every classroom has been assigned an outdoor location on our campus. We have 100 acres, and so we assigned areas such as this. Here we have one of our 2nd and 3rd grade classes. Our parents donated tables and chairs and tents and all sorts of items so that we could take learning outside of the classroom, get it into the fresh air. And when we started the year, we told our teachers, really shoot for 80% of your day. Take your day outside, and now we're preparing for the winter months, and we're working on getting equipment so that we can continue being outside. And our kids know how to dress warmly. They're very adaptive, and they know what it's like to be outdoor learners, and it's been going wonderfully.
And even just looking at the reaction of some of the students out here, the one behind us, for instance, they just seem very comfortable. It's maybe a more relaxing learning environment than being, you know, inside four walls all day long.
Absolutely, and we have the benefit of having space.
Yeah.
They can social distance, they can have those mask breaks, they can take them off. And yeah, it is very calming to be out in nature when you're learning. And so this is just one of our outdoor classrooms. And we have several that look different ways. Some are a collection of benches, some are under beautiful tents that you might even use like for a wedding, all by the generous efforts of our parent population, what the school was able to do and things.
And kind of piggybacking off what you said, so we're both actually in our winter coats right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, the season is changing. It is getting a little bit colder. What does a warmer outdoor classroom look like?
So we have a saying around here, there's no such thing as bad weather, just improper clothing.
Nice.
And so, you know, snow doesn't stop us from going outside, but we do adapt to what we do. You know, what kinds of more hands-on, active learning can they do outside? They're moving, staying warm, and then we go inside to, you know, follow up with whatever the lessons are. But we are looking at purchasing tents that have like a wedding event tent with sides, propane heaters, things like that. And so there will be a lot of transition in and out in the winter months, but definitely our students are very comfortable being outdoors in the winter.
Yes. How are the students reacting, you know, thus far to just being outside? Because, you know, Kingsbury, like you said, they aren't foreign to being outside and having their lessons outside, but this is certainly ramped up.
Absolutely, and they've adapted very well. And we actually partnered up with a local nature center called Seven Ponds, and they've done a wonderful job coming out and doing professional development with our teachers, so they feel equipped on how to take their lessons outdoors, how to teach the children, you know, kind of the expectations for how learning continues when you're in such wide open spaces and things like that. So we actually have a year-long partnership with them, and so they're supporting us in our initiatives, and it benefits the kids.
And speaking of Seven Ponds, because that, I believe, was a field trip of yours in the past,
Yes.
right? How are field trips handled this year?
For right now, we have made the decision that it's not the right fit yet. Typically, a field trip would include a high participation rate of parents, and we are just trying to keep our students in cohorts and limit, you know, mixing and large gatherings. So at this time, we're not ready for field trips. So I do want to show you something amazing. So this classroom has been learning about bats this week, and our teacher transformed a space to a bat cave, if I can show you that. So I'm going to take you this way.
Bristol says students always have an interactive lesson to go along with what they're learning. This time the students were focusing on bats, reading, and math.
So our teacher created this awesome outdoor space for the kids. And so if we go in here, or if we can show you, there's a couple kids in here reading. Hi guys, you can keep reading. So we have our bat cave here that our teacher created for our students, and this is just a fun learning space outdoors with the black light. They can read. Right now it looks like they're having some free reading time, and it really keeps the day engaging and a creative way to utilize the outdoor space we have and make something memorable for the kids.
And just another way to not only social distance, but make learning fun and keep the students engaged.
Absolutely.
Then it was time to join the little kids across the way who were also participating in outdoor learning.
Absolutely.
And like you said, once you start walking, it's actually not that cold. It really is.
No, it's not bad. The kids are more resilient than we think.
Yeah.
You know,
And I would imagine it makes the day go by a lot faster too.
I think it does.
Outside. You're still learning. Like that's the best.
Exactly. Jessie, our teacher here, has her whiteboard out, and
Oh, I love this so much.
yeah, all these camp chairs were donated by a family. Wow. So this class has a uniform set of camping chairs, so it's so easy for the teacher to transition from her outside lesson to come in, or her, you know, to go in and out. Yep.
Wow.
All our students, part of our supply list this year was a small little bag, like a canvas bag. So in the morning they learn, you know, what they need to pack up in their backpack. You know, they need to have their clipboard, they're gonna need their markers or their pencils. So they can load up their backpacks, go out to their outdoor classroom, and they're ready for the day.
I love it. And even kids this little, do you ever hear them comment on, yay, we're going outside or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when are we going outside? You know, they're ready for it. They love it. My daughter personally, she comes home and brags about how dirty she got that day, you know, because they got to go on a hike and they were measuring and jumping over mud puddles that day or whatever it may have been.
I love that.
They love being outside.
And when you talk about students obviously being outside and learning, have you noticed that they're paying more attention or they're more attentive now that they're outside and they're still enjoying, kind of like recess in a way?
Actually, yes, and that is something that, you know, a skilled teacher needs to work on. How do you set those expectations for good classroom management, help the kids be able to focus when it's time to focus, and then let them have a brain break, you know.
Yeah.
You know, in between, you know, after taking maybe a math test, they go out in the grassy area, kick a soccer ball a little bit to get that energy
That's
out,
amazing.
and then they can go back to math class and continue and now be refocused on what they're doing.
Right, and just another benefit to being outside and having class, because if you are inside, I don't know, but I would imagine you can't kick that soccer ball in the middle of class.
Exactly.
Bristol says one of the big reasons outdoor learning was easy for them is partially because Kingsbury always believed in smaller class sizes and enjoying the outdoors.
And that's always been a normal at Kingsbury. We've always capped our classes at 20. And so with that smaller class size, that does mean our students can it's easier for them to social distance. And also for the teacher, you know, being outdoors with 20 students and being able to set up the right expectation and management system versus having 35 children that they're trying to manage out on a hike, and to have 20. So that's been another advantage to what's helped us open successfully. So one of the other things that's really gone well with being able to transition inside and outside so easily for our students is all our classrooms have exterior doors. And so the kids are very comfortable going from inside their classroom out to their outdoor learning space, and it's been working very well.
Opening up for, I guess, fall 2020 school year, how was that? Was it stressful? Was it a lot of, I'm sure, you know, anticipation?
Absolutely. It was incredibly stressful this summer, a lot of high anticipation, a lot of unknown answers, and honestly too, just a lot of like a leap of faith with our staff. You know, they did such amazing things when we were closed in the spring, but they so wanted to be here with their students. They could not wait to be back and see them and talk to them and have that real connection and relationship again. So they knew that we were going to do everything we can to make this a great school year, and they dove in.
And for that, I think you said 20-25% of your student body that are still at home doing online learning. Are your teachers the ones who do that, or do you have other teachers dedicated to online?
Yes, so it worked out very well. With our elementary, the interest percentages per grade level worked out perfectly, so that we were able to dedicate one teacher for 2 grade levels in the elementary, and so they're teaching a multi-age online class, but they are totally dedicated to it. So they're Zooming with their students multiple times a week. They're doing one-on-one reading lessons and small group math lessons, and so we've heard phenomenal things from our parents and our students with how well our students still feel connected to what we're doing. And then with our middle school, we had to get creative so that our teachers could both be teaching their in-person math students and also, you know, provide content and stay connected with their middle school learners, though they are more independent.
Though the pandemic undeniably brought challenges to the school year, there were a few things that could be learned. You see like any positives in it, especially regarding, you know, how you guys are outside learning now more so than ever?
Yeah, that's definitely been a positive, a surprising impact of the pandemic is that it has taken something that was so important to us already, and we just ramped it way up. And to do that, knowing that it was good for our teachers, it was good for our students, our parents felt more comfortable sending their students back to school, knowing that they weren't going to be stuck inside with a mask on all day. They're going to be outside getting that fresh air. It all around, it really helped us feel like this year could be more successful.
Good story. Well, that's all the time for this week. So, for our busy reporter, Alexis Wire, and our photographer, Stephen Brower, and our technical director, Dan Zweiss, and our production manager and editor, Terry Stiles, I'm Bill Service, and we hope to see you again on our Community Access.